The forest was quiet but not peaceful. At night, strange sounds moved through the trees, chains, metal scraping, and something like a growl mixed with a cry. The people in the village never went near that place. They called it cursed. They called it dangerous. They said a beast was locked there. But still a boy walked toward it. His name was Elias. He was young, maybe 13, and full of questions. His father always told him, "Stay away from the prison in the woods. The beast inside will eat you alive." His mother would cross herself and whisper, "It should never have been kept alive." Yet Elias was curious. He had seen the soldiers take food and water into the woods, but nobody ever came out again, except the guards. He had heard stories from the other children, stories of glowing eyes, sharp teeth, and claws. But he also heard something else once when he dared to stand at the edge of the trees. He thought he heard crying. That sound had stayed with him. Beasts did not cry like that, he told himself. That was the sound of someone broken, someone alone. Tonight, when the moon was high and the village was asleep, Elias walked deeper into the forest. His heart pounded with every step. The trees closed around him and the air grew colder. Soon he saw it. The prison was not a big castle or a grand stone tower. It was only an old broken building, half buried in the earth. The walls were black with mold. Heavy chains ran across the doors and thick iron bars covered the small windows. Elias stopped. His hands shook. He almost turned back. But then he saw them. Two glowing lights in the darkness behind the bars. Eyes, watching him. His chest froze. His legs wanted to run, but he could not move. The eyes were not wild like an animal's. They were tired. They were desperate. The sound came again. A low growl that broke into a weak cough. Elias's hand went into his pocket. He had stolen a piece of bread from his dinner. He had not thought much about it when he left, but now it seemed foolish. What would bread do for a monster? Still, his hand moved. He lifted the bread and tossed it through the bars. The shape inside shifted. For a moment, he saw a thin figure move from the shadows. Pale skin, long hair, tangled and dirty. Chains clinked as the prisoner reached out, catching the bread. Elias expected the sound of tearing teeth. Instead, he heard something else. "Thank you." The voice was broken, soft, and cracked with thirst. But it was not a growl. It was not the voice of a beast. It was the voice of a girl. Elias's mouth went dry. He stepped back, his heart racing. The figure inside the cell leaned closer. The dim moonlight touched her face for the first time. She was not a beast. She was not even much older than him. Her skin was strange, marked with faint glowing lines that pulsed like light under the skin, but her eyes were full of pain. The village had lied. You can talk," Elias whispered before he could stop himself. The girl blinked at him, holding the bread in her chained hands as if it were treasure. "You came," she whispered. "Nobody comes." Elias shook his head. He could not believe what he was seeing. His father had said she was dangerous, that she killed soldiers. His mother had said she was cursed. But here she was, thin and starving, whispering thanks over a piece of bread. "I should go," Elias muttered, his voice trembling. The girl's hand reached through the bars, weak and shaking. Her fingers were thin, almost glowing in the moonlight. "Please," she said. "Don't leave me. They will let me die here." Elias's breath caught. He had never heard such fear before. She did not sound like a monster. She sounded like someone who had lost everything. A branch snapped behind him. Elias spun around, his heart leaping into his throat. The forest was silent again. But for a moment he thought he saw movement between the trees. Was it the guards? Had someone followed him? When he looked back, the girl was still there, her eyes glowing faintly, watching him with hope and sadness. Elias stepped back slowly. I'll come again," he whispered. The girl's lips moved, shaping words so soft he almost did not hear them. "Don't forget me." Elias turned and ran into the trees, his heart hammering, his mind spinning. The night air cut cold against his skin, but his body burned with shock. A beast locked in the woods, his people had said. But tonight, Elias had seen the truth. Not a beast. A girl. And the question now whispered in his mind louder than fear. If she is not a beast, then why do they keep her locked away? The next day, Elias could not think straight. His hands shook when he carried water from the well. His mother scolded him for spilling grain. His father shouted when he did not answer quickly. But Elias heard only one sound in his head, the girl's voice whispering, "Thank you." At night, when he lay in bed, he stared at the ceiling. The words would not leave him. She was no beast. She was no monster. She was only a girl, locked in chains, starving and forgotten. The village had lied, but why? When the moon rose again, Elias slipped from his house. His steps were softer this time, careful as a cat. He carried a small basket of food he had stolen from the kitchen: bread, dried meat, and a flask of water. His heart pounded with every step, but he could not stop. The forest seemed alive tonight. Branches creaked. An owl screeched. Shadows twisted in strange shapes. Elias almost turned back twice, but each time he saw her face in his memory. Her tired eyes, her weak hands clutching the bread. That picture pushed him forward. Finally, the black prison rose from the ground again, dark and silent. The bars gleamed faintly in the moonlight, and the eyes were waiting for him. "You came back," the girl whispered, her voice breaking into a cough. Elias knelt by the bars, his hands shaking as he pushed the basket inside. "I brought food and water." She reached forward slowly, as if afraid it was a trick. Her chains rattled as she lifted the flask with trembling hands. She drank greedily, water running down her chin. Then she ate, small bites at first, then faster, as if she feared the food would vanish. Elias watched, silent. When she finished, she looked up at him. The glow in her skin was faint but real, soft lines that ran along her arms and neck like light under her flesh. It should have been frightening, but Elias felt only wonder. "Who are you?" he asked finally. The girl's lips trembled. For a moment she did not answer. Then she whispered, "My name is Lyra." "Lyra," Elias repeated, the name strange on his tongue. "Why do they call you Beast?" Lyra's eyes darkened. Her fingers pressed against the chains around her wrists. "Because I am not like you," she said. "Your people fear what they do not understand." Elias leaned closer. "But you speak like us. You look almost like us. You're just different." Her eyes softened. "Different is enough for them." She raised one hand, and for a moment Elias almost pulled back. Her fingers were thin, glowing faintly, trembling with weakness. She pressed them against the iron bars. "Please," she whispered. "Don't be afraid." Elias hesitated, then slowly lifted his hand. His palm touched hers through the cold iron. At once, a strange warmth flooded him. His breath caught. The forest seemed to fade. His mind filled with flashes, not pictures, not words, but feelings. He felt hunger so sharp it cut like a knife. He felt loneliness, heavy and endless, like chains dragging through his chest. He felt fear, the terror of being hunted, the horror of being trapped. And then, he felt kindness. A memory of sunlight on another world, a voice singing softly, a mother's touch. Elias gasped, pulling his hand back. His heart hammered. His chest burned. What was that?" He whispered. Lyra's voice was quiet. "It is what my people can do. We can share feelings, memories, not with all, only with those who open their hearts." Elias stared at her, trembling. She was no beast. She was something more. "They said you killed soldiers," he whispered. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "They attacked me first. I tried to escape. I did not want to hurt them. But when they struck me, I fought back, and so they chained me here." Her voice broke. "I never wanted this." Elias's throat closed. He thought of his father's hard eyes, his mother's fear, the village whispers. "Lies. All lies." "I believe you," Elias said. For a moment, silence filled the air. Then Lyra smiled, weak, small, but real. Her glowing eyes softened with gratitude, but the peace broke too quickly. From the trees came a crack of a branch. Heavy footsteps, the sound of metal armor. Elias's blood froze. He spun around. Shadows moved between the trees. The guards. Lyra's eyes widened. "Go," she whispered. "If they find you here," but Elias shook his head. "I can't just leave you." "You must," she said. "They will kill you too." The footsteps grew louder. Torches flickered in the dark. Elias's heart raced. He grabbed her hand through the bars once more, just for a second. "I'll come back," he whispered. "I promise." Then he ran into the trees, vanishing just as the guard stepped into the clearing. Lyra curled into the shadows, hiding the basket, hiding her tears. Her chains rattled softly, but her heart burned with a new feeling. Hope. For the first time since her capture, she was not alone. The next morning, The village was already awake when Elias stepped out of his small wooden house. The air smelled of smoke and wet earth. Men carried tools toward the fields, women hung clothes to dry, and children ran in the dusty streets. It was the same as always. Yet Elias felt everything was different now, because he knew the truth. The prisoner in the woods was no beast. She had a name, Lyra. She was not dangerous. She was broken, starving, and chained, but Elias could not speak of it. At breakfast, his father slammed his cup on the table. "Guards caught someone sneaking near the prison last night," he said with a sharp glare. "A thief, maybe, or some fooled child who wants to play hero." Elias's spoon froze halfway to his mouth. His throat went dry. Did they suspect him? His mother lowered her voice. "That creature should be killed, not fed. Why keep it alive?" His father leaned closer to Elias. "Remember, boy, she is not human. She is cursed. Her kind are liars. If you ever go near her, she'll twist your mind." Elias nodded quickly, but inside anger boiled. They were wrong. They were blind. It was not Lyra who twisted minds. It was the lies of the village. That night, Elias slipped into the woods again. His feet knew the path now, though every branch still seemed to whisper danger. Lyra was waiting, her glowing eyes lifting with hope when she saw him. "You came back," she breathed. Elias pushed bread through the bars. "I told you I would." She ate slower this time, her movements more calm, as if his return gave her strength. "Why do they lie about you?" Elias asked suddenly. "Why do they call you a beast?" Lyra's gaze dropped. Her hands tightened on her chains. "Because I am not from your world. My people came from the stars long ago. We lived in peace, hidden in forests by rivers and caves. But when humans discovered us, fear turned to hatred." She touched the glowing lines on her arms. "These marks are gifts from my people. They let us share memories, emotions, truths. But your people called it witchcraft. They said we were demons." Elias's chest ached. "So they locked you away," Lyra nodded. "They took me when I was young. They feared I would grow strong. They told their people lies about soldiers I killed, about curses I spread. Lies are easier than truth." Elias pressed his forehead to the cold bars. "My father believes them." "Everyone believes them." Lyra's voice was soft. "Not you." Their eyes met through the darkness. And Elias felt the truth burn in him like fire. But danger pressed closer than he knew. The next day, whispers ran through the village. The guards had found food scraps near the prison. Someone was helping the creature. Elias's stomach twisted with fear. He kept his head low, hoping no one saw his shaking hands. That evening, his father called him into the barn. "Elias," he said in a low, dangerous voice, "you haven't gone near that prison, have you?" Elias swallowed hard. His father's eyes were sharp as knives. He wanted to tell the truth, but he could not. He thought of Lyra, starving in chains. He thought of her weak voice saying, "Don't forget me." "No, father," Elias whispered. "I haven't." His father studied him for a long, hard moment. Then he nodded. "Good. Because if I catch you near that beast, I will drag you home myself, and you will never see the sun again." Elias walked out of the barn, his chest heavy with guilt. He had lied. But for once he felt no shame. It was not his lie that was dangerous, it was theirs. That night he returned to Lyra. He told her everything, his father's words, the village's whispers. Lyra listened, silent. Then she reached her hand through the bars again. Elias took it without fear. Warmth spread through him again. But this time the visions were clearer. He saw tall trees with silver leaves under two suns. He saw children with glowing marks laughing as they touched hands. He saw Lyra younger, smiling before chains bound her wrists. Tears burned Elias's eyes. "You had a family," he whispered. Lyra nodded, her own eyes wet. "I lost them. I don't know if any of my kind are still alive." Elias squeezed her hand. "You're not alone anymore." But even as he spoke, footsteps echoed in the trees. Torches flared in the distance. Voices shouted. The guards were searching. Lyra pulled her hand back quickly, retreating into the shadows. "Go," she hissed. "If they find you here, they will not spare you." Elias's breath shook. His heart wanted to stay, but his legs obeyed. He fled into the forest, his chest tight with fear. Behind him he heard the guards curse and rattle the chains, checking the cell. Lyra stayed silent, hidden in darkness, pretending to be weak and lifeless. Elias pressed against a tree. panting, watching the glow of torches fade. His mind raced with one thought only: the village would never let her go. Not while lies ruled their hearts. And so, a new secret burned in Elias's chest. He would find a way to free her. Days passed, like whispers in the wind. Elias worked in the fields, carried water, and smiled when his mother spoke, but inside his thoughts lived only in the forest. Every evening, when the village grew quiet, he slipped away. Lyra was always waiting. At first she was weak, her voice barely more than a breath. But with food and water each night, her strength slowly returned. The glow on her skin grew brighter. Her eyes, once heavy with despair, now carried sparks of life. For Elias, every meeting was a secret world. One night, after she ate the bread he brought, she said softly, "You should not risk yourself. If they find out, they will punish you." Elias shook his head. "I don't care. You don't deserve chains." Lyra looked at him for a long time as if searching his soul. Then for the first time she smiled. It was small, fragile, but it warmed the cold air around them. The bond between them grew. Elias told her about the village, the harvests, the festivals, the way children played in the fields. Lyra listened as if each word was a jewel. In return, she shared pieces of her world. When she touched his hand through the bars, he saw flashes: glowing rivers, tall silver trees, skies with 2 moons. Her people lived without walls, without prisons, moving with the rhythm of the land. "It was peaceful," she whispered once, her voice breaking. "Until your kind came with fire and iron." Elias's chest tightened. He wanted to apologize for the cruelty of his people, though he had never lifted a hand against her. One night, as the moon rose high, Elias dared to ask, "Why don't you hate us?" Lyra's glowing eyes softened. "Because hate would make me like them. I will not let chains take my heart." Her words struck him deeper than any lesson his father had ever given. For the first time, Elias understood that Lyra was not only innocent, she was stronger than anyone he had ever known, but danger always lurked nearby. The guards grew restless. Elias heard them in the tavern one evening, their voices sharp like blades. "Someone feeds the beast," one spat. "We find him, he'll hang." "The captain says if it gets stronger, we kill it," another growled. Elias slipped away before they noticed him. His hands shook, his stomach knotted. He wanted to run to Lyra and warn her, but he knew the guards would be watching closely. That night he waited until the storm broke. Rain lashed the roofs, thunder shook the ground, and lightning split the sky. The guards would not patrol in such weather. Elias grabbed food, wrapped it in cloth, and ran to the prison. Lyra was curled in the corner, shivering. Water dripped through the broken roof. Her chains clinked with every movement. "You're soaked," Elias said as he pushed the food inside. She lifted her head. "I thought you wouldn't come." "I'll always come," he whispered. For a moment, the storm outside seemed to fade. Lyra reached through the bars. Her hand touched his. This time, the connection was stronger than ever. Elias's breath caught as visions crashed into him. He saw Lyra running through forests under alien stars, her laughter bright. He felt her mother's embrace, warm and safe. Then fire, shouts, chains, soldiers tearing her away. He felt the bite of cold iron, the sting of fear, the endless loneliness. Elias gasped, tears stinging his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice breaking. Lyra's glowing fingers brushed his cheek through the bars. "Do not cry for me, Elias. Cry for the lies that made them fear me." Her words carved into him like stone. But the storm also brought danger. Suddenly, voices rose in the distance. Torches flickered between trees, dim against the rain. The guards. Elias's heart leapt. "They're coming!" Lyra's chains rattled as she moved closer to the bars. "Go. If they find you, you'll never leave alive." Elias's breath shook. "I can't." "You must." Her voice was sharp now, full of strength he had not heard before. "If you die, no one will remember me. If you live, maybe someone will." Her words struck him like thunder. Reluctantly, Elias pulled back. His feet splashed through the mud as he ran into the forest, his heart tearing in two. Behind him, the guards stormed into the clearing. Their torches lit the prison, their curses rang loud. Lyra shrank into the shadows, hiding the food he brought. She kept her eyes low, her chains rattling softly. pretending to be weak and harmless. The guards cursed and spat. Still alive. Why do we keep it? Another voice, cold and cruel, replied, because the captain says so. But soon, maybe not. Lyra closed her eyes. For a moment, fear gripped her. But then warmth returned to her chest, the memory of Elias's tears, his voice whispering, I'll always come. And for the first time in years, her heart carried not only sorrow but hope. Elias hid in the trees until the torches vanished. His clothes clung to his skin. His body shivered, but his heart burned like fire. He knew one truth now. If he left Lyra in that prison, she would die. And no lie from the village could make him accept that. The storm had passed, but Elias's heart was still raging inside him. He worked in the fields the next day with mud on his boots and fear in his chest. His father shouted at him to move faster. His mother worried over the fading crops, but Elias could not hear them. His mind was trapped in the prison, chained with Lyra. She would not survive much longer. He had seen her bones sharp beneath her skin, her wrists bruised from iron. He had heard the guards speaking of killing her. Time was running out. That night, Elias lay awake on his bed of straw. He stared at the wooden beams of the ceiling and whispered into the dark, I have to get her out. The thought filled him with terror. Escape was madness. Guards patrolled the woods, the prison was locked with heavy chains, and the village believed she was a beast. If he was caught, he would be beaten, maybe worse, but still the words burned inside him. I have to. The next evening, Elias returned to the prison with trembling hands. Lyra was waiting, her glowing eyes lifting when she saw him. You look afraid, she said softly. Elias pressed his forehead to the bars. I am, but not for me, for you. They are planning to kill you. Lyra lowered her gaze. She had expected this. Then let it be. At least the pain will end. No. Elias's voice cracked with desperation. You can't give up. You don't deserve chains. You don't deserve death. Her glowing fingers reached through the bars, brushing his cheek. What choice do I have, Elias? Elias caught her hand in both of his. His eyes blazed with something new. Not just fear, but determination. I'll free you, Lyra's breath caught. No, if they catch you, I don't care, Elias whispered. Better to die trying than to watch you suffer. For a long time, silence lay between them. Only the wind moved, brushing through the trees. Finally, Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with something he had not seen before. Trust. The plan grew slowly, in secret. By day, Elias watched. He noticed when the guards changed shifts, when they grew lazy at their posts, when they left the prison doors half secured after drinking. He memorized their movements the way a hunter tracks prey. By night, he whispered the plan to Lyra through the bars. When the moon is smallest, the guards drink at the tavern. I'll come then. I'll need the keys, she said quietly, tugging at her chains. Without them, the iron will never break. Elias's heart pounded. The keys hung from the captain's belt, keys heavy and cold, always shining in torchlight. To steal them meant death, but he nodded. I'll get them. The chance came sooner than he expected. One evening, his father sent him to the tavern with a basket of grain. The place was loud, filled with laughter and spilled ale. Soldiers sat at the long table, boasting and shouting. Elias froze when he saw the captain at the corner, his hand resting lazily on his belt. The keys dangled in plain sight, glinting in the firelight. Elias's throat went dry. His hands shook as he placed the grain on the counter. The captain did not notice him, too busy drinking. The other soldiers laughed at some crude story. Step by step, Elias moved closer. His heart hammered so hard he feared they would hear it. His hand brushed the keys. A soldier slammed his mug down, making Elias jump. Laughter roared. The captain shifted but did not turn. With one sharp tug, Elias pulled the keys free and slipped them into his basket. Then without a word, he hurried into the night. The cold air hit his face like water. He wanted to scream with terror and joy, but he forced himself to walk calmly back home. Inside, his chest burned with fire. He had the keys. That night, he ran to the forest. His breath came fast, his feet barely touched the earth. When he reached the prison, he pressed the keys against the bars, his voice trembling. Lyra. I did it. Her eyes widened, glowing brighter than ever. Elias. His hands shook as he unlocked the outer chains on the door. The iron groaned, protesting after years of rust. He slipped inside, his breath catching. For the first time, he stood in the cell with her. The smell of damp stone and old blood filled his nose. Lyra sat before him, her wrists raw, her skin glowing faintly in the dark. Elias knelt and fit the key into her chains. With a click, the iron opened. Lyra gasped, touching her wrists as if she could not believe it. "You're free," Elias whispered. Tears filled her glowing eyes. She touched his face gently. "No one has ever risked so much for me." Elias shook his head. "No one ever saw the truth." But their moment shattered with a sound that froze his blood. Footsteps, voices, torches. The guards were coming. Elias's heart raced. The keys slipped from his hands and clattered to the floor. Lyra grabbed his arm, her chains half open, her strength returning with every breath of freedom. "They'll kill us both," she whispered. Elias stared at the torches closing in. His heart screamed with fear, but another voice rose louder inside him. "Run! Save her!" The night exploded with light. Torches burned between the trees, voices shouted, boots hammered the ground. Elias's breath caught as shadows filled the clearing. "They're here," Lyra whispered, her glowing skin trembling in the dark. The chains around her ankles were still locked. She could move, but not far. Elias grabbed her arm. "We can make it." He jammed the key into the last lock. The iron groaned before snapping open. The sound echoed like thunder. Lyra staggered to her feet, weak but free at last. "Run!" Elias gasped. They burst from the cell, their feet splashing through mud. Branches whipped at their faces as they fled into the forest. Behind them, the guards roared, "The beast has escaped!" "Find them!" Arrows hissed through the trees. One struck the bark near Elias's head. Another tore through Lyra's sleeve, missing her skin by inches. She stumbled, but Elias caught her, pulling her onward. The forest closed around them, alive with danger. Torches flickered like hungry eyes. Shouts echoed, growing closer. Elias's lungs burned. His legs ached. He had never run so fast in his life. But Lyra, though weak, moved with surprising speed. Her bare feet barely touched the earth, her glowing marks lighting the shadows. "Where are we going?" Elias gasped. "Deeper," Lyra whispered, her voice sharp with urgency. "There's a cave, a place of my people. If we reach it, I can show you the truth. The truth." The word burned in Elias's chest. That was what he wanted more than anything. They ran until the torches faded behind them. At last, Lyra led him into a ravine hidden by vines and stone. The cave mouth yawned black and cold. Elias hesitated, his chest heaving. "They'll search everywhere." "They won't find this place," Lyra said. "It is older than your village." Inside, the air was damp, smelling of earth and something strange like metal and lightning. The walls glowed faintly, reflecting Lyra's skin. She placed her hand on the stone. At once, the wall shimmered with light. Strange patterns appeared, glowing like stars. Elias's eyes widened. This is not natural," he whispered. Lyra nodded. "It is the memory of my people." She turned to him, her glowing eyes soft. "You should see what they never wanted you to know." Elias stepped closer, heart pounding. "Show me." Lyra reached out and touched his hand. The connection surged through him, warm, heavy, unstoppable. Visions crashed into his mind. He saw a village not of humans, but of glowing people like Lyra. Children laughed as they touched hands, sharing memories like gifts. Rivers shimmered with silver light. Trees sang with wind beneath two suns. Peace, beauty, harmony, then fire. Human soldiers stormed the valley, their weapons sharp, their faces twisted with fear. They shouted, "Demons," as they cut down the glowing people. Houses burned. Screams filled the air. Lyra's people did not fight. They fled, they begged for peace. But fear blinded the soldiers. Blood stained the rivers, and then chains, iron collars, cells in the dark. Lyra's voice trembled in his mind. "They called us beasts. They called us cursed. But we were only different. And they destroyed us." Elias staggered back, gasping. His chest felt heavy with grief that was not his own. His eyes burned with tears. "They lied," he whispered. "All of them lied. You're not a beast. You're a people my kind destroyed." Lyra nodded slowly, her face pale but strong. "Fear is the chain that bound me before iron ever did. They feared us because we could share truth. And so they chose lies." Her glowing hand touched his shoulder. "But you, Elias, you did not fear. You saw me?" Elias's voice shook. "I wish I could save them all." Lyra's eyes darkened. "Not all can be saved, but one heart at a time. That is enough." Before Elias could answer, voices echoed through the ravine. The guards were closer than he thought. Torches glowed at the cave's mouth. There, someone shouted. Lyra pulled him deeper into the cave. The glowing walls pulsed brighter, as if alive. Elias turned, panic rising. "We're trapped!" Lyra's eyes narrowed. "No, we are not." She placed both hands against the wall. Her glowing marks blazed like fire. The stone split open, revealing a hidden passage. Elias's mouth fell open. "How?" "My people left these paths long ago," she whispered. "A way to survive if humans hunted us." They rushed inside as the wall sealed behind them. The guards' shouts echoed faintly, muffled now by stone. The passage was narrow and cold, but it led to a hidden chamber deep underground. In its center lay a pool of silver water, glowing softly like moonlight. Lyra knelt beside it, her reflection shining back with light. "This is the heart of my people, the last place that remembers us." Elias stepped beside her, staring into the glowing pool. "Why show me this?" Lyra looked at him, her voice steady. "Because you asked for truth, and truth is dangerous. If they find you now, they will kill you for knowing." Elias's throat tightened. "Then let them try. I won't let lies rule me anymore." For a long moment, Lyra only watched him. Then she smiled, sad but proud. "You are braver than most of your kind." But their moment of peace shattered again. The stone trembled as the guards forced their way closer. The air shook with the sound of iron on rock. Lyra's glow brightened, her marks blazing like stars. "They will not stop until I am dead." Elias stepped in front of her, his fists clenched, his heart pounding. "Then they'll have to go through me." The cave filled with the sound of approaching boots. The truth had been revealed, but the fight for survival had only begun. The cave shook with the sound of boots and iron. The guards were breaking through the stone. Their shouts echoed like thunder, growing louder with every second. Elias stood in front of Lyra, his fists tight, his heart pounding like a drum. He had never felt so small, yet never so certain. "They're coming," Elias whispered. Lyra's glow brightened, casting silver light across the walls. Her voice was calm, though her eyes burned with fear. "When they see me, they will not listen. They will strike. Then I'll make them listen," Elias said, his voice shaking but strong. The stone cracked open. Torches flared. Soldiers stormed into the chamber, swords raised, shields clanging. Their leader, the captain, stepped forward with fire in his eyes. "There it is," he shouted. "The beast has poisoned a child." "Kill them both!" The guards roared, their weapons flashing. But Elias ran forward before they could strike. He spread his arms wide, blocking Lyra. His voice cracked through the chamber, louder than he thought possible. "She's not a beast," he shouted. "She's not cursed. She's like us. She's more human than we are." The soldiers froze for a heartbeat, shocked by the boy's defiance. The captain sneered. "Move aside, boy. You've been tricked." "No." Elias's voice shook but did not break. "I saw the truth. I felt it. She has memories, a family, a people. She has kindness. And you," he pointed at them with trembling hands. "You locked her away because you feared her," the guards muttered, their torches flickering in the silver light. Doubt crept into their faces. The captain's eyes narrowed. He raised his sword. "Enough lies from a child. The creature dies now." He stepped forward, his blade flashing. Before the strike could fall, Lyra moved. She stepped past Elias, her chains clinking on the floor. Her glowing hands lifted, not in anger, but in peace. The captain froze. His sword arm trembled as light spread from her fingertips. "Stop," Lyra whispered. Her voice filled the chamber like a song, soft but unshakable. "I will not harm you. I never wished to harm any of you." The guards hesitated. One lowered his sword. Another shifted uncomfortably. And then, with a trembling breath, Lyra reached toward the captain himself. Her glowing hand brushed his arm. At once the chamber filled with silence. The captain gasped as his eyes widened. He staggered back, his sword falling from his grip. Visions filled him. Visions of Lyra's people, laughing, living in peace, destroyed by human fear. He felt her pain, her loneliness, her chains. He felt her hope. When the light faded, the captain collapsed to his knees. His face was pale, his breath shaking. She's no beast," he whispered. "We were wrong." The guards looked at one another, confused, frightened. Lyra lowered her hand. Her glow dimmed, her body trembling with weakness. Elias caught her before she fell. She showed you the truth, Elias said, his voice breaking. Now choose. Will you keep living in lies, or will you see her as she is? The soldiers wavered. Some lowered their weapons. Others clenched their fists, torn between fear and shame. The captain, still on his knees, looked up at Elias with haunted eyes. If the village learns, they will never forgive this. They will kill her. They will kill us for hiding it. Elias tightened his hold on Lyra. Then let them try. The truth is worth dying for. Lyra stirred, her glowing eyes opening. Her voice was weak but steady. No truth stays hidden forever. One day my people will return, and they will ask what you did to me. Her words echoed through the chamber, heavy as stone. The guards lowered their heads, unable to meet her gaze. When dawn broke, Elias and Lyra stepped from the cave. The forest glowed with morning light. The soldiers had not stopped them. Some had even turned their backs as if ashamed to watch. For the first time, Lyra stood outside her prison without chains. The wind touched her face, the sun warmed her skin. Tears glimmered in her glowing eyes. Elias walked beside her, his small hand gripping hers. His heart was still heavy with fear, but hope burned stronger. You're free now, he whispered. Lyra shook her head softly. Not free, not yet. As long as lies rule your people, chains wait in every shadow. Elias looked up at her. Then I'll fight those lies. I'll tell them the truth no matter what. Lyra smiled, weak but proud. You are only one boy, Elias, but even one voice can light the dark. Behind them, the cave sealed itself, its silver glow fading into stone. The last memory of her people disappeared once more into the earth. Ahead, the forest stretched wide, and beyond it lay the village, the place where fear and truth would soon collide. Elias tightened his grip on Lyra's hand. He knew the road ahead would not be safe, but he also knew the choice had already been made. Not chains, not lies, truth. And together they walked toward it.